Right, the next thing that we're going to cover off is the legal aspects of owning and renting out a buy-to-let property. It'd be nice if you could just sort of buy the property and the tenants went in and you just collect your paycheck every month and that was it. But unfortunately, as a landlord, you do have certain obligations categorised to three main areas. So anything that's contractual, anything that's regulatory, and finally, third and final, all-encompassing, okay?
Sorry?
All-encompassing. So, someone give me an example of something that a landlord would enter into that's contractual. I mean, the four ones I can think of is, yeah, a legal document such as that, so your assured short-hold tenancy agreement, eviction orders, maybe an inventory. I mean, do you guys all do inventories when somebody moves into one of your properties? Yeah, you should be doing. I mean, end of the day, it covers both people. You know exactly what went into the property, and it makes your life a hell of a lot easier if you ever get a dispute about anything like that. I mean, lender. You enter into a contract with your lender, you go for a mortgage, then basically you've made a legal obligation that every month you are going to pay them a certain amount of money. Obviously, if you break that contract, then you could end up losing the property. The property could be repossessed. So that's a big contract you enter into. The tenants, let's say we've already covered off the assured short tenancy, the inventory, you know, the eviction order if you needed to go down that route. Hopefully you never will, but you know, it happens, and there are a percentage of people that won't pay, and you will have to go down that route. Insurers, so could be buildings insurance, it could be maintenance contracts, basically anything that you take out to insure either the property itself or to try and protect your income around that. That's a contract that you need to be aware of. And then finally, letting agent. So you go into an agreement with a letting agent, property manager. You need to make sure that, you know, the terms of the contract suit you, that you're fully aware of any kind of notice period that you need to give that agent if you don't wish to use their services anymore. Any questions about that? Yeah, go on.
Just on the inventory. I mean, I used to just produce my own inventory and attach photographs to it. But since the introduction of the tenancy deposit scheme, what the agents that I use are now saying is that the scheme requires them to use an approved inventory supplier. So I pay for an inventory, and I think I pay through the nose.
What sort of money do you pay for that?
Well, it's basically a sliding scale depending on how many bedrooms it's got. But for example, the bottom of the range would be a one-bedroom flat. They're charging 90 quid.
Yeah, I see what you mean when you look at it like that. It's a lot of money for something that you could say, you could go out and do yourself, take pictures, so you've got all the evidence.
Is that a legal requirement?
I wasn't aware that it was a legal requirement to have to use a specific form. If they have got that standard form and you pay for it, then I don't know, I personally don't see the benefit in that. I guess the only benefit is if it all ties in with the other paperwork and if it's signed as a legal form, probably gives you a little bit more clout as a landlord, but I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that was a requirement, unless it's just a case that the letting agent you use, rather than that maybe they're doing it to cover themselves as much as anything, rather than you producing one kind of form for it, you producing another, you doing something slightly different, they use a standard form, and it just protects their position really as the middleman in the transaction.
Well, it's a nice little earner for this
exactly.
individual that runs this inventory business.
Exactly.
They go around
Yeah,
charging
exactly.
to overtop the last the last inventory they did for the tenancy.
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, if you work it out, it's probably an average of about another 150 quid on every, you know, every rental contract they set up. Project that over a year, it's a lot of extra money for them.
The last inventory I paid was £150.
Yeah.
That was pretty basic, I wasn't happy with it. The only thing they said that it would support them if the case went to court.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
would stand in the dock and declare that their inventory was, they were qualified to give an inventory.
yeah.
I could never see myself getting to that case where I took the inventory to court. So £150 I thought was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, again, particularly if you put in quite basic furniture into a property as well, you know, it's a lot of money, against...
It's certainly an extensive report and it ran several pages, but it certainly wasn't as thorough as I hoped.
All right. Regulatory then, that is the other thing to bear in mind. So 3 main regulations governing the rental of property. Gas safety, so any gas appliances, they need to have been serviced and checked out once a year by a Corgi registered engineer, yeah? Obviously, you don't want a situation where you haven't done that, a boiler blows up in the face of your tenant and you're now liable for that. Electrical safety, again, I don't know, do you guys tend to do partly furnished, fully furnished or unfurnished? What's the kind of mix that you go for on that?
Partly.
Yeah. I mean, all we would say really, if it's an essential item, then fine if you provide it. End of the day, if you provide a kettle to the customer, you're responsible for the safety of that kettle. So the more electrical items you provide them, the more liable you are. So again, as the landlord, it is your responsibility to ensure anything that is provided like that is safe, is fit for purpose. So if they don't need it, don't give it. Let them buy their own hair straighteners or a sandwich maker. If it goes wrong, it's on their their conscience, not yours, yeah? And then...
Sorry, this is where I find this inventory thing getting a bit tricky, because, I mean, to give you an example, I had a tenant vacate a property that said to me, I want to leave my television here. Is that all right with you? I said, fine. And I put on my inventory to the new tenant, television is provided, but, at your own risk. I'm not going to take the responsibility if it goes wrong in repairing it. But the inventory company won't go into that detail.
Nah.
So then I'll become liable, both from a safety perspective and from a repair perspective. So it's something like that I think's...
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, you're put in a position where, to you it makes sense, and it does. They're going to leave their TV. You can kind of sell it as an added benefit to the new tenant. But ultimately, like you said, the inventory that they go into, it's not going to go into that kind of detail. It's a grey area. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from that. If somebody leaves their stuff there and tells you they don't want to have that, sell it on, sell it to a second-hand shop. I mean, you're not going to get much from it for a TV, Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just say, look, there's a few things in here, I don't normally provide them. You're welcome to buy them. Offer them at a very realistic price.
The other point is if you provide a TV, you're liable to pay for that TV licence. So I normally never do it. If a tenant leaves it, I'll say to the tenant, if you want to have it, you're welcome to it. You have to pay for the TV licence.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you're quite right. If you provide it with that as part of the contract, then you are liable. Like I say, if it's not an essential item, I wouldn't provide it personally. For what you're going to get out of it compared to what the risks are associated with it, it's not worth it,